One day, the masked man entered the dungeon, carrying a syringe filled with spider eggs. He gestured for the curly-haired man to inject them into the woman's ear. The curly-haired man begged for mercy, pleading with the masked figure to spare them, but the masked man simply said, "Do it, or she dies right now." Left with no choice, the curly-haired man obeyed and injected the entire syringe of spider eggs into the woman's ear. Desperate to avoid dying one by one, the group huddled together and came up with a plan. As soon as the masked man returned to his secret chamber, the bearded man picked a fight with the curly-haired man, right under the surveillance camera. Sure enough, the commotion drew the masked man's attention. He rushed back to the dungeon and bent down to check the curly-haired man's injuries, only to be suddenly grabbed around the waist. The others jumped in to help, but they had all underestimated their captor's strength. He quickly overpowered them, knocking each of them to the ground with ease. Still, the risky plan wasn't a complete failure. In the struggle, the curly-haired man managed to snatch the knife from the masked man's belt. After their captor left, he immediately used it to pry off his chains. One by one, the others were freed. They regrouped and tried to figure out their next move. The curly-haired man suggested they fight back again, but the bearded man was terrified. He'd already had enough and didn't want to even try. Soon, the dungeon lights began to flicker again. The masked man was coming. Panicking, the bearded man asked for the knife to defend himself, but the curly-haired man refused to give it up. A fight broke out between them. The woman tried to separate them, but they were already locked in a full-blown scuffle. In desperation, she grabbed a rock and gently tapped the bearded man to stop him. But in a terrible twist of fate, it knocked the knife straight into his mouth, killing him instantly. Stunned by what she'd just done, the woman broke down, screaming in panic. In a burst of hysteria, she grabbed the curly-haired man's knife and turned it on him. Before anything more could happen, the masked man suddenly emerged from the shadows and grabbed the woman, holding her hostage. In that split second, the curly-haired man had an idea. He calmly apologized to the masked man. The unexpected sincerity made the captor pause. The curly-haired man slowly walked forward, gently lifted the man's mask, and carefully took the knife from his hand. It looked like things might actually end peacefully, but just as the masked man turned his back, the curly-haired man plunged the knife into him. The masked man screamed and spun around just in time for the next strike. Only this time, the blade landed in the woman's stomach. That moment shattered the last trace of humanity inside the masked man. He looked down at the woman bleeding on the ground. There was no emotion in his eyes. He picked up the knife and sliced her open without hesitation. Watching this horrific scene unfold, the curly-haired man was paralyzed with fear. Then he turned and ran, but the masked man was already chasing after him. Realizing there was no way out, the curly-haired man steeled himself for one last stand. He fought back with everything he had, but was quickly overpowered, pinned to the ground, completely at the mercy of his attacker. In a final act of desperation, he grabbed the nearby knife and stabbed the masked man with all his strength. At last, the nightmare was over. In the final moments of the film, the curly-haired man escapes the dungeon and makes it back, home alive.